In this video, we're going to focus on how we can give the chart area a nice border color, but specifically based on the value. So if certain values are 0, we will hide it, but once there's a value in here, then we're going to show a nice background color. So we're going to make sure that this is soft coded. So let's start to explore how we can do this. So let's start to explore how to set the background color for a specific chart area section in Chartjs. So to do this, first of all, we need to go to chartjs3.com getting started. Go to this link, and you can find the link also in the description box. Scroll down here and then just copy this entire chunk of code. Once you copy this, and if you want to understand what this code does, make sure you watch this video here that explains it all. So I'm going to just paste this in here, and once I did that, I want to just cut out the title, replace the title here, save that, and there we are. So now we have this, and what we want to do now is start to give it a color. But to do this, because the question was very specific, what I want to do is I want to add up 2 more values here at the beginning and at the end, which are a value of 0. So basically here 0, 0, and then here again 0, 0. And what I will do here is, well, just put in 2 extra values here. Let's say holiday, and then here again holiday, there, and then maybe here closed, or I guess, or something like that. Just something indicating there is no value. Save that, refresh, and then of course we need to make sure do we have everything here. Let me just open up the developer tab, see what's going on. Unexpected string on line 53. Alright, sorry, this one, make sure you put a comma here or else you get an error. There we are. So what I really want to do is I want to only color this section, but what I want to do, of course, this section should not be hard coded, that we only say, alright, from this index, then it will be colored at a different color here at the background. I want to do it soft coded. So let's start to work on that. And the first thing what I'm going to do, of course, is to create a plugin. So in the options, I'm going to put a comma here, and I'm going to say plugins. And in this plugin, we will call the background highlighter or something like that. You can call it anything you want. Let's say background chart area. That will be fine. So then what I will do here is I will say here this plugin block, and then of course here constant background chart area equal, then we say here ID, although we will not use this, so it doesn't matter. So this is just basically for the options itself. Then here what I want to do is I want to select the drawing time. This is very important. If you use, for example, an arbitrary line, you want to be on top of these bars. But in our case, we don't want to be on top here. We want to be at the background. So that will mean that before we draw the data set, I want to make sure that we have the background color drawn. So I'm going to say here before data set sets with an S, and then we say here draw. And once we do that, we say a chart, that's the parameter, args, and options. So in our case, we're going to use object destructuring for the chart, and what that basically means is that the chart or all these items here are basically objects, but this object is the one we're going to focus on. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. If I do a console log chart and save this and refresh, you can see here what happens is basically we find everything here. But what I want now is specific values. I need the CTX, which is basically reference to the canvas itself, but also I need the chart area. And you can see here, if I go to chart area, let's see, where is the chart area? It's somewhere up, if I'm not mistaken. There you are, that one here. So for example here, to get, for example, the bottom, I would have to say chart.chartArea.bottom. But I don't want this. I want to just use a shortcut of bottom. So this shortcut or shorthand can be done if you use object destructure. So I'm going to say here constant curly braces equals chart, and then, and this is what we call with the object destructuring. It's an object, and we destructure, or just we pull it apart and get a certain layer. In this case, I want to grab here the chart area layer. So I'm going to say here CTX, it's the one that I want as well, but also the chart area. And in the chart area, we have multiple values or multiple layers, as you can see here. And what we want here, well, I'll just get them all. top, bottom, left, right. So we say top, comma, bottom, comma, left, comma, right, comma, width, comma, height. Alright, so all of these values are exactly the same here. And then afterwards I will do here comma, and then we're going to say here the scales. I also need the scales, colon, then I need the x scale and the y scale coordinates. This will be very important because if you want to draw a certain position here, we need to know the x and y scale. Alright, so if I save this now, refresh, nothing happens here. But if I do now a console log, and I will say here top, save that, refresh, you can see here we get number 32. But if I go here now, and I go here to chartArea, and we get here to top, you see number 32. So what happens now is we just, instead of having a whole list like chart.chartArea.top, we can just use this shorthand. Alright, so now we have this. What I want to do next is, we can just remove this. We don't need this anymore. What we want to do next is start drawing the item. So I'm going to use here for CTX. CTX is basically the canvas ID as you have seen here, referring to the canvas itself, or basically this entire item, which is of course this here. Alright, so what I want to do, so in this canvas, with the canvas ID of my chart, I'm going to draw the following. Well, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say fill style, and fill style equals, so we're going to give the shape a color. So we want to give this a nice background color, so let's give it a full color. Well, let's make it simple, and I'm just going to grab a nice color here. Let's say, well, we can use this one here, the dark color. But what I will do is I will make it very light. I'll put it in here, but of course we're going to say here 0.1, for example. Semicolon. Next, I want to say CTX dot fill rec. Basically, we're going to say now we're going to fill up and make the shape. So how do we do this? We have the x coordinates, which is the x start position, and then we have, basically you could say here x, that would be left, x left, and then y top. So what is our coordinates? Starting coordinates. So in this case, our starting coordinate should be here, going down here, going there, basically like this. So we have to figure that one out. But next, what we also have is the x, I guess the width. It will be the width. So how many pixels in width? When we start here at the left side, how many pixels to the right do we need to go? Well, we need to go based on this here. So we need to calculate later on how we get this. And finally, the y height, meaning how many pixels in height going down. If we start here somewhere, how many pixels are we going down to color that shape? So what I'm going to do here now is just going to say here, for the sake of it, I'm going to make it simple. I'm going to say left, and I'm going to say here top, and I'm going to say here this will be the width, and here will be the height. If I save this, refresh, alright, I see my misspelled word, width, save, refresh. There we are. So now you can see here, it is fully colored here. And this is all fine, and I realize here that when we added up this here, the labels or the coloring has not been matched with it, but it doesn't matter so much. What is more important here now is we have this here, but I want to move this here. So how do we move that there? Well, with that, or to do this, we have to go back into the console log. And then specifically here, we're going to get back in the chart, and then we go into scales. So we have this already. So if I save this, click on this, and then we go to scales, somewhere at the S scales here. There we are. You can see here we get all the X coordinates and all the Y coordinates here. Let's see if we can find the official item. Label size. No, I need to know here the ticks. So you can see here we get here the ticks value, which is one way to do it. And what we can do, at least for, we can try, let me show you this one, because this is important to know. So we're going to say here the following. This is the ticks value. So this is a special command. And what this command really does is just finding the specific Y position. So let's start and do that one. So what we need to do here, I guess we don't need really the Y position, because basically if you want to cover this all top and the width here is perfect, But what we can do is here, for example, x, and then we send an x here, get pixel for value. And this value would be the index number and would be converted into a pixel. So if you're wondering what's the index number, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what you might say here, alright, I just need to get here number 2 and number 8. So I'm going to show you number 2. That will be our starting here. And then we say here the width will be number 8. If I save this, refresh, what is happening now is not really exactly expected, because this here is in the center, and we don't want this. And I'm going to show you later how we're going to solve that one. But secondly, the width here is 8, but we cannot have 8. What we need to do is we need to have 8 minus the space here, the free space here of 2. So we could do it like this. We can say 8 minus that one, 2. And this should give us a specific value. So I will say here constant new width equals this. So if I put in here, do that, save that, refresh. Alright, so now we get this, but it's of course not suitable. Or maybe we need to even extend it with 1, say 9 here. Well, as you can see here, we get always here. Why? Why does this happen? Well, right now the index of the bar is always here in the center because we want to push it to the center. So we don't need the index of the x scale here. We need basically the tick lines here, or basically these grid lines. This is very important for us, and this is what I was trying to show you, so you have an understanding that this is not the solution that we need. So what we need to do here is we need to work differently. So what we're going to do here is get a specific item here. So if I do here a console log and we just do x, I'm going to show you what we need. Refresh. New width not defined, sorry. I just leave it in here because we have the new width in here. So if I click on this here, and now we are basically in the x itself, and in the x we can search here. Let's see if it's a ticks. No, what we need here is the underscore gridline items. So basically it loops through everything, and you can see here we get a lot of information, including the positioning. This here is 27.5. And then what we need to know here, what is it would be the next one? Well, you can see here the next one would be 88.5, and then 150, or almost 150, etc., etc. So it keeps on going up. So what I want is basically this specific position. So how do we get this? Well, let's hover over this because this is the one we want, or maybe this one here, the x1. You can see here underscore gridline items index 0 dot x1. Why index 0? Because basically this is an array of lines. So let's go back here. You say your dot underscore grid lines item or items. Grid line items with a capital L and no it's a single line. Then we put in items, and then here index we're going to put in, let's say, index 0, and then dot, what was it, the x1. So if I do this and I start to put that in here, let's save that, refresh. Alright, so we get an error here on 87. Grid line items. So let me just check what are we missing exactly. Most likely we're missing a specific value. So if I refresh this, alright, this error here comes afterwards, so that's alright. Grid line items, where are you? Alright, I'm going to just copy this. Maybe I just misspelled something. Underscore grid line. Alright, I guess I forgot the capital L. Make sure you put a capital L in there. So if I save that, refresh, there we are. So now this works, so we can just remove this one for now. But of course, what is wrong here? It's still at the very beginning. I want to put it here, index 2, meaning here. Alright, so now we have this, and the next thing what I want to do here is of course get the other one. So how do we get the other one? Well, basically like this. We're going to deduct this, and we're going to put it in here. And this one here, well, you might say here 8. Let's see if we do this. There you are. You can see this is index 8. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what we need is basically index 9. covering this one here, because why? The grid line starting point is being counted and not the ending point. So what I'm going to do here is the same 9. Save that, refresh. Alright, so now this works, but you might say, well, this is all fancy, but this is a hard-coded solution, and we need to soft-code it. And this was the specific question. How will I get it if this here is 0, and here as well 0? How do we only highlight the item with the specific values? So, to do that, we need to basically calculate this based on our current situation. This is the reason why I put in here these 2 zeros. So this is a very specific case as well. So how do we do this? Well, what we need to do here is the following. First of all, what I want to do here is I'm going to calculate here the starting value. So what I want to do here, this here needs to be soft coded, and these here as well. And how do we soft code them? Well, basically we're going to calculate the starting value from the array. So to do that, what we're going to do here is, let's say a constant start value, and the start value will be based on our array here. And what we're going to look for is we're going to use the array method called find to find a value that is bigger than 0. That is number 1. So that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to say your start value, and then we're going to say your data sets index 0. And we say a dot data, which is basically going from data to data sets index 0. This is index 0 here. And then here we go to data. So once we're in here, what I'm going to say here is to find, the find method. And then in here I will say the value, every value in this array is called value, and I want to search for a value that is bigger than 0. And I'm talking here about the very first value, so it will be bigger than 0. So if we do this, we will get here the value that we expect. So refresh here, that should be number 18. That is the first one here. That is number 18. There you are, as you can see. So this works. So now what we can do here is probably, you've already guessed it, we're going to do here the index of. So now we have this, so we can do here the following. So I'm going to say a constant start index equals, basically here, we're going to say again our data, but then I say here the following index index of, and the index of here will have a start value that searches this. So we will search for number 18, or whatever the number would be, in this case number 18, and search in which index value is this. And if we do this, and we do another console log start index, save that and refresh, you can see now index number 2. Meaning, if I copy this, replace that one, and replace this one, we can save that. There we are. So this is the first part, but of course the next part is a bit more tricky, which is the last one here. How do we get this number 9, or how do we get this more intelligent? Alright, so to do this, I need to continue on, but now what I need is basically finding the end index. So first of all, what we're going to do here is we're going to say let, and then we're going to say end index, and this end index will have no value, because what I need to do here is create a for loop. We need to loop through these values and then search what would be the very next 0 after these 2 here. So we will have the first 0 here, and that will be the index number that we need. So let's go back here. So we're going to say a for loop, and this for loop will be let I equal, and this will be equal not to 0, but what we're going to do here is we're going to grab here the start index. And then what I want to do here is I'm going to say we keep on looping at I as long as the data sets in, of course, with data set index 0, and then data length. So we want to know the length of the array as long as we are not surpassing this specific array length, and then semicolon I plus plus. Alright, so in here, what I'm going to do here basically is this. I need to figure out here the same item. I'm going to create an if statement here, and this if statement will only say the following: if data.data set index 0 and data I equals strict 0. In that case, what I want to do here is console log I. Save this, refresh. Alright, so now we have it. So you can see what we have here is basically 9 and 10, which is correct, because let's look at this. 9 and 10, those index numbers, are both 0. So we have a problem here, because I want to grab only the specific one. So how can we make sure that this stops at the right time? So for that, we're going to use this very simple feature. Well, first of all, I'm going to say at the end index will be equal to the I, whatever the I is. But next, what else I want to do here, I want to break the loop the moment this statement or this if statement is true. Then the for loop will be broken and then we can continue on. So once we have this, what I want to do now is of course do another console log just to see if we get that. Console log, show here the end index, save that, refresh, and now we only get 9. Beautiful. So now if I copy this, put it in there, I can just remove this, remove all this excess space, save that, refresh. There we are. So this works. And I can just remove this item here. Save that again one more time. There we are. So now what I want to do is final item is let's make this 9 and let's put in here 0, 0, 0. Save that, refresh, and there you are. So now we have this nicely dynamic and we can play around with this nicely. So this is basically how you can play around with this. And if you want to know really more about this, I highly recommend you to watch this video about understanding the chart area, because basically what we're doing is we're playing around within the chart area, but we do a lot more, of course, with scales and the chart area, all these things, but it's basically drawing within this area where the chart is being drawn.